I wanted to add some commentary on Hillary Clinton's position on gun control. I noticed a lot of buzzwords being used throughout the article, such as unlicensed, loophole, anonymous, and administrative action. Unlicensed. Unlicensed is used in the position as a negative term or a word or a term used to get people to believe that an action that is unlicensed is somehow illegal, when that is not the case. Unlicensed just means that there is no license attached to it. There is no government involvement. You opening your front door of your house doesn't require a license. Doesn't make it illegal. You can open the door to your house. Loophole. That word was used many times throughout the position, and it is a big anti-gunner buzzword. Anonymous. Just because someone is anonymous, that doesn't make them a criminal. Administrative action. It is a positive spin to the term executive order, which has been used by Obama in the past on not just gun control, but other things as well. And using the word administrative action puts a positive spin to something that the media has been portraying as something negative. When you hear Obama talking about administrative order, he's ordering something to be done without the approval of Congress. So it's a negative thing. To steer clear of the negative word, she switched it to administrative action. A lot of the stats in the position bothered me because all of her stats came from an anti-gun group that does not have a position of being neutral or wanting gun safety in this country, even though their name has the word gun safety in it. They're a complete anti-gun group. They do not like guns. They want guns banned, and they're taking tiny steps at a time to get to that end result. And when you have a presidential candidate who talks about how they understand that our country has, a Second Amendment, and that we have the right to bear arms. When you have a presidential candidate that has so many ties to an organization that wants to outright ban every single type of firearm that exists, doesn't sit very well with me. And hopefully it doesn't sit very well with you. So the number that really bothered me was the 20 to 40. She mentioned that 20 to 40% of transfers occur without a background check. That is a huge jump from 20 to 40. It's almost like either a quarter or either damn near half. Which one is it? That was very concerning. Also, the comparison of unlicensed transfers or unlicensed to illegal or illegal transfers. And just because something is unlicensed doesn't make it illegal. And in this position, it almost blurred the lines between the two, almost on purpose, to bamboozle people into thinking that if something is unlicensed, that means it's bad or illegal, when that is not the case. I also did not like the fact that she talks about online transfers or online purchases of firearms and firearm purchases at gun shows. Gun shows are still very popular in this country, although it is a very old school way of getting gun owners to come together for the sake of commerce. These gun shows basically occur in towns all over the United States, towns, cities, whatever. They can be as small as a little church gathering in the basement, where they have tables set up for vendors, to as big as an arena that is set up with hundreds of vendors and hundreds and thousands of tables where people conduct business. And they don't just sell firearms; they also sell outdoor equipment, firearms accessories or related equipment, ammunition, things of that nature. At these gun shows, there are vendors, and the vendors can be an individual, or the vendor can be an actual gun shop. If that gun shop sells a firearm, they are going to perform a background check on that sale. They use this gun show loophole term to make you think that gun shows are these places where criminals go to exchange guns under the table, and all of these evil things happen there, but that's just not the truth. And you would be able to figure that out on your own if you actually went to one. But if you have no interest in guns, I completely understand why you would not want to go to a gun show. But I have been to a few gun shows, and it wasn't really that big of a deal. And the funny part with the gun shows is a lot of times, especially the bigger ones, the ATF will actually have a booth at the gun show, and they'll do background checks for you for free a lot of the times. So if you are an individual and you decided to go to this gun show and you're saying, I have a couple of rifles that I want to sell, and I live in a state that doesn't require a federal background check on private sales, you can go there and say, you know what, I don't know this person, so I want to get a background check done just to make sure that he's not a felon. You can go to the ATF booth and request a background check be done. You both, have your driver's license, and you provide that information, and what the ATF will do is they will run your information through, a typical form that would use, like if you were in a gun shop, and they'll make sure that the person passes the background check so that you feel better, more comfortable about making the sale. They don't tell you about this stuff because, one, they're trying to fool you into thinking that gun shows are these evil events, or two, they don't know themselves. So that's something that you need to be aware of when you're dealing with talks with people, whether you are pro-gun or anti-gun. You need to know that information. You need to know how it works if you're going to speak on it. Same thing with online sales. Reading over this position almost certainly makes me believe that Hillary Clinton has no idea how an online gun purchase works. I personally have purchased a few weapons online several different ways. I have used websites like Gunbroker to purchase used firearms, and I recently did one last year, and I did one earlier in the spring on a handgun. On the rifle, I found the rifle that I wanted. It was owned by a gun shop in Florida. I contacted the dealer in Florida, filled out a credit card form, I made the purchase, got their FFL information, provided it to my local FFL. They shipped the rifle up here to my local FFL, and I went in after they received it. They gave me a call, went in, I did my background check, I passed it, I took my gun home after paying them a fee, of course. I took my rifle home. With the handgun I purchased in the spring, I found it was available online. I was going to buy it from that company, but I said, you know what? They probably have the same supply chain. So I went into my other gun shop that's located here as well, let the owner know, hey, I wanted this handgun. Can you check and see if you have it available through your distributors? He checked. He found it. He placed the order. I waited for it to come in. It came in. I did my background check, and I took my handgun home. A lot of people don't understand how these things work. So a lot of the times when you're dealing with, politicians and their positions on gun control, and they mention things like closing gun show and online purchase loopholes. There are no loophole. It's a law. You follow it or you don't follow it. The choice is yours. Adding more laws aren't going to change the fact that I'm going to either obey the law or disobey the law. They can pass 6 laws on gun show and online purchases. If 2 people meet at a gun show and they decide they want to exchange money for a gun, they'll do it. It doesn't matter if there is a law that says you'll get the death penalty, because you have to actually catch them doing it, and that's impossible. It's an unenforceable law, which is why it's not a law. Unless you're an FFL, then you of course have to. If you don't, then you'll lose your license. You'll be fined. You could face jail time. You'll ruin your way of life. So everything in society is tied to some form of collateral. If you're a criminal, you have no ties to the community, and there might be collateral, but you don't care. So is it actually collateral if you don't care about it? Probably not. And that collateral might be your freedom. And a lot of times criminals still won't care. So you don't create laws that criminals are just going to disobey because they don't have any collateral to provide you with. I don't want to go to jail. I have a great life. I have a wonderful wife and family, and I enjoy doing things such as building, shooting, talking about firearms. If I'm in jail, I can't do that. So I'm going to follow the law. Moving on to the next point that I had, the 90%. 90% of the people or actually it said 90% of Americans support background checks. And if you don't, you're a part of this 10%. Are you 10% of 300 million people? No, you're not. This poll was done after Sandy Hook. They didn't poll 300 million people. They polled people via home phone and asked them loaded questions and got a response that they wanted most of the time. Even so, doing that, there were some informed people that said, hey, wait a minute, this question doesn't seem right. It seems loaded, so I'm going to respond with a no, I don't support background checks, which is hilarious to me. And then they compile the stat, and again, this is Everytown for gun safety in America. They compile the stat, and then they pass it to their politicians. And they regurgitate it and say 90% of Americans support background checks. And it's just not true. Only 90% of people you polled with a home phone responded and said they support background checks. Just fudge numbers that are used to trick you into thinking something. It's used to hit you in the feels. So, that's just another trick that they use. Fighting for background check legislation. She doesn't actually have a bill drawn up on her own. She doesn't really have a plan or law ready to go. She's going to rely on legislators to create something for her. And what she's going to do is she's going to take a cherry and put it on top of it and then call it hers. Another big problem I see with this gun control position is very dangerous, and that is making manufacturers responsible along with gun shops. Removing laws that are in place that protect businesses is dangerous. It sets precedents. If I sell you a car and you drive that car and it works well, and you take it home and your teenage daughter who does not have a driver's license takes the car and drives it and crashes it and injures herself and another person. Removing protections like these would allow her to sue everybody. Would be able to sue the company that manufactured the car, would be able to sue me for selling the car. It basically just takes responsibility away from people that should have the responsibility. So if you're a gang member and you take an AK-47 that you stole from someone and that person reported it stolen, and you go and you do a hit on a rival gang member and you kill that rival gang member and you kill an innocent bystander or injure an innocent bystander, the family of the gang member that died and the innocent bystander can come together or individually sue the person that manufactured the rifle, even though they sold it legally and it was transferred legally to someone who could legally own it, which makes no sense because that sets precedence. And precedence like that is bad because it can change to other industries and other things and other people. And it's just a bad domino effect that we don't want to happen in this country. Not to mention Congress just isn't going to go for much of any of this stuff. It's just stuff to get her in the news. Stuff to get her in the news cycle. Another big problem I had with her position on gun control was feminism. I'm a huge anti-feminist person. And being an anti-feminist person does not mean that you hate women. It just means that you hate feminism. In this law, or these laws that she looks to push through on domestic abuse and stalkers, stuff like this, it's all one-sided. She goes to make it look like all domestic abuse is perpetrated by men against women, and it's never the other way around. When I have witnessed domestic abuse happening where the woman was the one attacking the man. And we live in this system that is feminist based already, so we're looking to pour more gasoline on that fire, which is just wrong. And I have a few scenarios. So for instance, she wants to make it so that if you, quote, stalk a female, and again, a man stalking a female, not the other way around, even though I've had women stalk me, the law would not cover or protect me at all. It would only protect if I were to stalk another female. But if a female stalked me, I would probably get laughed at, and the woman would not get charged with anything. She would not get added to a list of people that would be prohibited from purchasing firearms. But if I stalked her, I would be added to that list. That's a huge problem. It's feminist, it's sexist, and no one should go for this because we live in a society where people are supposed to be equal. Then why are we creating biased and sexist laws to make yourself look good with a group of people so that you can get votes? This is dangerous, more dangerous than firearms themselves, because you're putting entire groups of people at risk. Someone gets into an argument with a family member, and I've been in these situations before and I've witnessed them. Man gets upset, woman gets upset, an argument starts. In our culture, the men are supposed to be tough and, prideful, and the women are supposed to be, quote, weak and emotional. So what typically ends up happening is woman gets upset, calls the police. Even though they both were fighting, it was a mutual exchange of words. It didn't even get physical. The police show up. The woman lies and says, he hit me, he pushed me, whatever. There may be friends of the woman around, and they back up her lie. They arrest the man. He goes to jail. He gets charged. Down the line, the charges may get dropped. But your name is now flagged in a system. 5 years down the line, your life may drastically change. You might move on from this situation, get a new girlfriend, marry this person, have children with this person, and you're married now, and you want to protect your family. Now an incident that happened 5 years prior with a person who was mentally unstable, now you can't purchase a firearm to protect your family now. Sets bad precedents. It sets people up for failure throughout the rest of their lives for a mistake they might have made, a situation where someone might have lied to the police about them. And I have witnessed these things. I've witnessed this stuff happen in person. I am just not a big fan of Hillary Clinton. I never have been a big fan of hers. And with her position on gun control releasing today, I am an even bigger doubter of hers. And I really hope Bernie Sanders wipes the floor with her and that we actually have a really good presidential campaign season next year. I just really hope that people pay attention to this stuff and understand that Hillary Clinton is not a good choice for America. She is not a good choice for pro-gunners, and she's not a good choice for even the anti-gunners. If you want to go about making change, we need to sit down and be logical, and first off, stop attacking the Second Amendment. Firearms are just a tool. Stop taking the responsibility away from human beings. We're capable of being responsible for our actions. We have a system of law. Allow that system of law to work. And thank you for watching.